There appears to be confusion among the White House and the federal government stemming from something so simple, an email.
Over the weekend, Elon Musk tweeted, consistent with President Donald Trump's instructions, all federal employees will shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done last week. Failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. Multiple agencies with Trump-appointed heads, however, are telling their employees to just ignore all that. For instance, the RFK Jr.-led Health and Human Services Department sent an email that reads, "There is no HHS expectation that HHS employees respond to OPM," that's the Office of Personnel Management, "and there is no impact to your employment with the agency if you choose not to respond."
FBI Director Kash Patel gave his own employees similar instructions, writing in an email of his own over the weekend. The FBI, through the Office of the Director, is in charge of all of our review processes and will conduct reviews in accordance with FBI procedures. When and if further information is required, we will coordinate the responses. For now, please pause any responses.
The State, Energy, Homeland Security, Justice and Defense Departments also told their employees to disregard. The Transportation Department, Treasury, General Services of Administration and the Office of Management and Budget told their employees to follow Musk's directions.
Sprinkling in a bit more confusion was Donald Trump. Here he was yesterday.
You have people that don't show up to work and nobody even knows if they work for the government. So by asking the question, tell us what you did this week, what he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired.
CNN reported that one anonymous Pentagon official said, "It is the silliest thing I've seen in 40 years and completely usurps the chain of command."
Musk responded, tweeting, "Anyone with the attitude of that Pentagon official needs to look for a new job." Musk announced on X last night that workers would be given a second chance to comply, and if they didn't, they'd get the boot.
Some Republican members of Congress are voicing their concerns with DOJ and the email issue. For instance, Senator Lisa Murkowski wrote on X, "Our public workforce deserves to be treated with dignity and respect for the unheralded jobs they perform. The absurd weekend email to justify their existence wasn't it." Here's another Republican, Utah Senator John Curtis, on CBS's Face the Nation.
If I could say one thing to Elon Musk, it's like, please put a dose of compassion in this. These are real people. These are real lives. These are mortgages. It's a false narrative to say we have to cut and you have to be cruel to do it as well. We can do both.
And here was Scott Jennings on CNN last night.
I think one other point, and this is the push and pull of when a Republican is the president. There's an attempt when a Republican's in the White House, Donald Trump or any other Republican, to argue that these federal agencies, federal workers, the bureaucracy, sort of can act independently or autonomously from the political leadership of the country. And that's what's happening here. That's why everyone is melting down. That's why the lady came on CNN today. They don't want to answer the email because they don't want to answer to the president. And the message from Trump and Musk is we have political leaders in this country and you got to answer to it.
Conservative commentator Matt Walsh wrote on X, "I already had a low opinion of many federal workers, but now that I've seen them all melt down and cry because they're expected to provide the faintest evidence that they're actually accomplishing anything with the taxpayer-funded jobs we've given them, I realized that my opinion of them was still somehow too high." So, unclear whether you're supposed to send this email or not.
Sort of semi-fired, as the president puts it, as a fairly vague term.
Yeah, I don't think they're actually fired. And, you know, while I am, I think, becoming known for being one of the more staunch defenders of Elon Musk in the media at this point, look, he can't give directives, or he shouldn't be giving directives that imply that people have to do this if, like, the own heads of their agencies, put in by, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. These are people MAGA world was excited, was thrilled to get into these positions. I have a lot of enthusiasm for some of these people as well. We trust them to find the waste, fraud, and abuse, the weaponization, all the things Trump talked about ending. We have now put in those people to do that. So, let them cook, let them do that. Elon Musk, micromanaging every facet of the entire federal bureaucracy, trying to get them to send. Now, is it a big request? No, obviously not. Sending an email, but what Elon Musk isn't gonna read all the emails from the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who work for the federal government. It's their heads of their agencies who have to go over that. So let's have a little bit of a delegation. Let's let Kash Patel, Hegseth, Linda McMahon, the people in charge of these agencies, deal with streamlining them, and if they're not doing a good job, they're ultimately responsible to answer to Donald Trump, who takes Elon Musk's advice very seriously. But that should be the mechanism, not emailing Elon Musk directly is a little silly.
Yeah, to me, the striking point here is that this power hungriness or ego of Elon Musk's has now become so expansive that it's drawing pushback from the people you mentioned. It'd be pretty difficult to say that Kash Patel is some lily-livered liberal. He's exactly the opposite of it. I have been very critical of him for all the reasons that we're aware of on this show before. But when you have people like Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK pushing back on Musk's assertion of authority over the federal government, I think that speaks for itself. I think the idea that the threat of resignation would hang over people if they did not comply or respond to his email was pretty ludicrous. It was obviously going to meet with legal challenge. There were lawyers from the more pro-labor union perspective comparing it to if I send you an email and say, Robbie, if you don't respond to this email by 7 a.m. tomorrow, you owe me $1 million, and you just don't reply, I can't really press you for the $1 million. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure you have it, obviously, but I can't press you for it. So that idea that Musk is pursuing just seems ridiculous and is understandably drawing pushback.
Yeah. Now, that said, I agree, obviously, with the goal of identifying which employees in the federal government are necessary and are doing good work and which are not. I increasingly think that large organizations, including the private sector, I'm actually not just about government although government is one of the, if not the largest employer in general, and is somewhat immune from market forces in a way that I think lends itself to having more bloat than necessarily in the private sector, although a lot of big private organizations also have a lot of bloat and could probably be more successful by trying to trim excessive employees.
Yeah, that is true. This comparison with the private sector, I think, works both ways, because look at stuff that Musk has done even in this relatively short period of time, or that has been done at his behest. We saw the firing of people in that nuclear safety agency and then their rehiring, the firing of people who were working on bird flu and their rehiring, the contention that Doge had saved $8 billion on a particular contract when it had in fact saved $8 million. The idea that a private sector CEO could do that kind of thing and retain the confidence of whatever, her or his board or her or his investors seems ludicrous, and yet Elon Musk does it in this quasi-government role that he has. And then people say, well, the government, private sector, I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah. But he did, and we're going to have a guest on in a little bit to discuss changes that have taken place on Twitter, but I always come back to the fact that he did fire 80% of the employees, and everyone said it won't even, the site will glitch out. It will not even function on a technical level. It still functions perfectly well. People don't, like the change, but those were conscious policy changes to change the level of moderation and what the experience is. The experience hasn't degraded from a technical sense, which suggests to me a lot of people could be let go in large tech or media companies with minimal threat to the viability of the product.
You're quite right that in the case of X, the predictions that the wheels would fall off obviously were untrue. It does still function, even though I would say the experience from my perspective is much worse than it previously was before his ownership. The caveat on that, where X is concerned, is these reports from various firms that suggest that the actual worth of the business has fallen quite precipitously under his proprietorship.
Well, we will discuss Twitter a little bit more later on the program. Right now, New York City Mayor Eric Adams has made an announcement about the migrant crisis, and also a high-profile potential opponent of his got an interesting endorsement we will discuss. Stay tuned.